None of us know at the time the full implications of saying yes to a prompting of God. And most of the time we'll say, well, I might say yes or I might say no, but it'll probably just be a non-event. But history proves otherwise. And what some people thought at the time was going to be a little deal turned out later on to be a really big deal. It turned out to be a really big deal when an Englishman, William Wilberforce, said, "Yes, God, I'll fight to end slavery in Great Britain." When a college kid named Billy Graham first said, "Yes, God, I'll rent a stadium, I'll fill it with people who are far from God and tell them about your love," that turned out to be a big deal. Turned out to be a big deal when Millard Fuller rounded up a few friends to volunteer to build a habitat for needy people without a home, a habitat for humanity. None of these people had a clue what their little "yes, God" in that moment was going to mean someday. I was on a regular run yesterday listening to a podcast, and I don't even know who the guy was, his name, but I know he was speaking on empathy. And he told a story of how he was speaking at a conference in Pennsylvania last October. He just finished a meal with his wife in a restaurant, and his wife felt prompted to pay a compliment to a waitress that was standing over near the exit. So they did, and he discovered that she was from Kenya. And he lit up because he was recently in Kenya on a missions trip with his daughter. And he shared, well, he had met a waitress there that he still stays in contact with today. And he thought, well, maybe she knows her. Then he thought, well, that's kind of stupid. I mean, that's kind of like me saying to someone who's from California, maybe you know my cousin because he lives there too. Anyways, he pulls out his phone and he quickly finds a picture of the waitress that he had met in Kenya. And when he showed it to her, she looked at it and she said, "Yvonne." And he said, "You know Yvonne?" She said, "Yes, we worked together at the Radisson Hotel last year." So he quickly snapped a picture of himself with this waitress, Leah, and he sent it to Yvonne on WhatsApp. And within a minute, Yvonne responded and said, "Leah, we worked at the Radisson together. We lived in the same neighborhood." He was speechless. And on the way back to his hotel room, he said that he asked Siri what the current population of Kenya was. And Siri said 47,567,296. Our God is both a powerful God and a personal God. They had dessert together the next day, and she shared, "I miss my family so much. I've been so lonely here, and God sent you here to me." And he looked at her and he said, "Leah, God sees you and God hears you." That's the way our God works in our lives. A simple prompting. They had no idea of her pain, her loneliness, her isolation, the pain of not knowing anyone. And he said, "We thought God had me in Pennsylvania to speak at a conference, but God had me there in order to encourage Leah." And now an ongoing friendship has continued. So friends, let's pay attention to the promptings God puts in our hearts.